Hello and welcome. We have a new episode of Bunker to Bunker. We have the President's Cup this week. We are recording this a couple days before President's Cup week. Personally, these team competitions are one of my favorite weeks of the year, even though the President's Cup gets some scrutiny based on USA has dominated. They've only lost, I think, one time, and they've tied once, which is back in 2003 when Tiger and Ernie Els had like a three-hole playoff, and it got too dark, so they called it a tie. But we have my brother on, recurring guest, Justin Siegel here. He's taking a lot of his time. Hopefully, the Penn State basketball schedule comes out soon for him to do his deep dive. Brother, what is your excitement level? That's my first question of the President's Cup this week.
Yeah, just wanted to say thank you for having me back on the podcast. It's always a pleasure talking golf and other stuff. But back to your question, I'd say my excitement level out of 10, I'd say I'm at like 7 or 8. I feel like it is still team golf, even though it is not as like exciting as competitive as the Ryder Cup typically is. It's a little lopsided, but I feel like Team International does actually have a better than usual team this year in 2024. That's why my excitement level is a little higher this year because as well, I feel like it's going to be pretty cool to see it in Canada. I think the sport is growing a lot there, as we've seen the Canadian Open. That's like every June or so. So I'm pretty excited, and it starts in a couple days now. So
Yeah, I think it's when you compare the Ryder Cup to the President's Cup, it's hard. There really is no
yeah,
argument that the President's Cup has more weight than like the Ryder Cup. The Ryder Cup has been around a lot more longer. It just means more to like the Europeans and just the
hmm
competitiveness in these crowds. But ever since kind of Ernie Els kind of created this so-called shield, that's their logo. Ernie was the captain. Trevor Immelman was the captain in 2022 when it was hosted at Quail Hollow. So I think they've had a lot of positive improvement. And I think the state of the international team is in the best it's ever been, certainly since we've been watching golf, obviously. So I think that they definitely have a chance to compete. I don't think they're going to win, but hey, people forget 2019 when it was in
hmm
Melbourne when Tiger was the
correct.
captain.
Yes,
There's that famous video of Tiger making that putt versus Abe Answer in Sunday singles, and then people like he kind of walked it in, like not really. So then like there's that one edit where like
yes,
he like
yeah.
putts in and takes off his cap and
Then
starts to
just
shake the hand, and the ball's like
does
halfway
that. Yeah,
to the hole. But that was I believe that we were losing going into Sunday
I
in
believe
Melbourne,
so. Also,
and I
yeah.
am looking now after Saturday matches, we were up 11-7 on home soil, and I do believe, even though like we did win 17.5 to 12.5, I think there was a point where I feel like Sunday singles, you always feel that point is that like the other team might make a run. You didn't really feel
Definitely,
that when I
yeah.
was on the grounds in 2021, 2022 President's Cup. You felt that. I mean, the last year like Ryder Cup, if you go back, like, there's a lot of red.
hmm
If Max Homa doesn't make that putt on 18, either win or have that match. There are some like theatrics when Ricky Fowler didn't have Tommy Fleetwood putt out. He just had.
Yeah,
I mean, Fleetwood is one of like the top putters. Like he was going to make it, but kind of still like you kind of have to have him make it. But
yeah.
I just conceded. But that's just the most Ricky Fowler thing ever. But long story short, I just think that the positive improvement and the energy that the team internationals have being on home soil in Canada with those fans that you said who have showed out at the RBC There's a lot of people I know in the golf world going to be on those grounds, so we'll get great content on pairings and course conditions and fans. But I really think that this is going to be closer than people think, and that's
I
kind of
think so also.
that good. And I think there's a lot of talk of the President's Cup was like, oh, do we make this like a LPGA PGA Tour because it's not that competitive? I think that this tournament has a chance with the crowds and everything if the internationals can keep it close and maybe after the first round they're up, that
Mm-hmm.
they can kind of try to flip that narrative because I think that's really what the internationals are like trying to do. I think they're trying to flip that narrative, and I think you know like Jim Furyk came out and said to someone from Adam, I forget his last name, on Golf Week, that like the guy was like, do you think the President's Cup needs the internationals to win and keep this afloat? And Furyk was like, F you, and like cursed them out. And I was like, no, like this still means a lot. So that's what they're trying to bring. So I think it's gonna be great. I want to ask you kind of next is like, what are like the top, storylines? Obviously with the Ryder Cup, you have all these different storylines, especially when it's on European soil. But what's the top storyline you think for Team USA come into this President's Cup?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of tough to like point to one, but I mean, like I feel like we'll get to it a little later, but like getting more into specifics, like I feel like a good storyline that we'll probably hear this upcoming week a lot is kind of dealing with the number one player and Scotty Scheffler, and like we have seen that like he has not performed well in match play over the past couple years in both the Ryder Cup and Presidents Cup. So if we like can't get Scheffler going, because like we obviously seen this past season, like it can go unsaid like how good he's been and how much better he is than the second guy in the PGA. It's like if he doesn't get going, like there's like a solid chance that the international team can make a very hard and strong competitive run come on Sunday. So it's kind of hard to point to like one storyline, but I feel like for me personally, I think Scheffler is one watch like this upcoming weekend.
Yeah, so I tweeted out this stat about Sky Scheffler. So Sky Scheffler has played in the 2021 Ryder Cup, the 2022 Presidents Cup, and the 2023 Ryder Cup. So he's played in the last three Team
Three, yeah.
USA competitions. His match play record is 2-5-4. If you exclude the 2021 Ryder Cup, that's where he beat John Rahm. He played with Bryson and the whole team McDonough.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
If you exclude the 2021 Ryder Cup, he's 0-5-3, which means Sky Scheffler has not scored a single point for Team USA in a team competition since 2021. And this is the number one player who won the Tour Championship, the Players, the Masters, got handcuffed at Valhalla. So I
Can't
think
believe it.
yes, it's I think it's also a little bit of concern. I think he's a different player since those last since at least the 2022 Presidents Cup. He was pretty dominant last year. He just couldn't really putt, so he kind of figured out his putter this year. Obviously, on European soil, which is always hard. He lost 9 and 8 to Hovland and Obear with Brooks Koepka. Koepka said on Part of My Takes, like, yeah, like I lost 9 and 8 and like to Rock Cup with like the best player in like the entire world. So
Mm-hmm.
I think there is a little caution to the Sky Shuffler. I think he's going to be definitely one of the top storylines. I think my top storyline for Team USA is frankly like Jim Furyk and his captain's decisions, because he literally just took the top additional 6 guys. Like he was kind of obviously he's like if you could take 12 guys, he's obviously going to take the Schefflers, the Cantlays. Clark has been playing well, Xander, Thigala, and like the automatic qualifiers. But I think Fierce captain decision and Max Homa is huge because Max Homa has been one of the statistically the worst player in this field. He's lost total confidence with his driver and his putter, which are two kind of strengths of his over the last couple of years. He has a missed cut at the Pro Court Championship, which originally was the Fortinet, which he's won twice. However, he's on this team because he's 7-1-1 in the last two team competitions. I think eyes are going to be on him for great reason because, as I said, his match play record, kind of his brand that he's built, and kind of that fiery personality that he
Mm-hmm.
has shown over the last 2 years. He made that clutch putt with Billy Horschel in 2022 at the President's Cup. He made clutch shots and chip ins and that putt on Sunday at like the Ryder Cup. So I think Furyk's captain's decisions and Max Homa are the top of my list over Sky Scheffler's poor match play record. I think it's a little bit more tricky with the internationals and their storyline. Do you think there's any like I guess maybe not storyline for the team international, but like, what are you most looking forward to watching
Um,
the internationals?
I would say it's kind of going back to my original point, but I feel like it'll be interesting to see how they feed off of the crowd because it's obviously going to be pretty raucous up in Montreal. So I feel like, especially the Canadians, but like I feel like the team as a whole, I feel like just going to feed off of the energy at the course a lot, and that would like that's just what stands out to me. But like if I had to like pick like a guy like on the team who like I'm most like intrigued by, I feel like we talked about him good amount last podcast about the President's Cup, but I feel like Tom Kim is like a very like intriguing guy on that team, kind of like the X factor because he's not like their top player because his form hasn't been great, but I feel like if he catches fire with whoever he's paired with, that we'll talk about, I think that's like a pretty intriguing like storyline and player to watch this upcoming weekend.
Yeah, I think Tom Kim's my top storyline. Broke out at the President's Cup. He went 2-3, and he celebrated on hole 18. I think maybe that Saturday afternoon match, going crazy. He came out on 18, maybe on the Sunday singles with the international
Yes. Mm-hmm.
sunglasses. He was kind of pumped on that crowd, even though it was in the United States. But it's just so hard to hate him. And I think with his young energy, he hasn't played well over the last couple of weeks, but I think overall, I think these sort of competitions are going to bring the best out of Tom Kim. And I think he's probably the most important player. Just from I think if people can strive off that energy is going to be huge. I mean, like we saw in like you know, I apologize for keep going back to the Rock Cup last year, but you saw that Team USA didn't really have that energy early on. Hovland makes that chip in, Rahm has a chip in. They kind of just started out very slow, and it took some beat reporter about Cantlay is doesn't want to wear that hat because he's not getting paid, which is a egregious storyline. And then Cantlay, it all comes out, and they're all like, fans are waving their hats, and it finally comes down to that like Cantlay finally realizes that after the fact like what was kind of going on. So and then obviously on the 18th hole, everything happens with Cantlay, Joe LaCava, and Rory, and like you can see that like Team USA definitely fed off of that energy. Unfortunately, it was like Saturday night, so it was like too. It wasn't enough. It was way too late. So I think if like the internationals can start off strong, send out Tom Kim first, try to get a quick point, and have him bring that young, youthful energy. I think that's probably like the top storyline for the
Mm-hmm.
internationals. I think the other storyline, kind of quickly, will be the talent disparity. Like I looked at Data Golf and I saw that Team USA has seven players ranked inside the top 20 on Data Golf compared to the internationals having only four. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
just
That's
like
crazy.
that, they're at a massive disadvantage. I think I'm not sure how the course is going to set up. We'll kind of find out more about if it favors driving distance over driving accuracy. And I know that I talked with Andy Lack. He tweeted, and I want to ask him some questions too about the course. But he kind of went through the whole chart, and he said that around 50% of approach shots are from 150 to 200 yards, and I think Team USA has like a massive advantage. But I think in really anything, they're going to have a massive advantage. So I
Yeah.
think the talent disparity will be a huge talking point, and I like to hear kind of how Mike Weir in his press conferences and kind of players react to that. I think that'll be a huge like selling point. I think it's going to be like kind of the same old bulletin board material that like no one's going to like really give this teammate a chance. So I think that's kind of what
Mm-hmm.
Mike Weir and his team are going to kind of go through. Kind of want to take a little bit of a quick break from the analysis. I want to give you a trivia question. So I wrote kind of 10 or so President Cup fun facts. I wanted to give you a couple of these and see if you
Let's do
know
it.
the answers to. But let me find one of these. So my question is, who has captained the most Presidents Cups in history?
I mean, it doesn't go back too far. I mean, I know Furyk has done a couple. I feel like could be like Davis Love also. But would you give me Furyk though? Because I think he did it recently also. I'll say Furyk.
Not, not even close. No, Furyk did
Davis Love.
prior. No, you gotta go like way back. Think
Yeah,
of like
but
golf, think of like golf legends. I'll give you like one more guess.
Jack Nicklaus.
Yes, Jack Nicklaus
Yeah.
in 4, 98, 03, 05, 07. So he had three in a row.
Okay.
Freddie Couples, Gary Player, and Peter Thompson have captained each three times. My next
I have
question
no idea.
kind of comes down to only really two guys. Who has the most points in Presidents Cup history? Not just Team USA,
Um.
the internationals. Who has the most points in Presidents Cup
Wait.
history?
So this goes back to like the early '90s.
I believe
Oh, okay.
the
Thought it was like
Team USA
late
is
'90s, early.
Team USA is 12-1-1.
I would say like Adam Scott.
No, I'll give
Is
you
it an international player or no?
no. It's a United States player.
Phil Mickelson?
Yeah,
Nope. Okay.
I thought you were gonna either say Phil or Adam Scott. I think Adam Scott's like 18-25 or something. Phil has played. I remember.
Yeah. So maybe if Scott like had a better
Yeah,
record, it would be.
Phil Mickelson is 26, 16, and 13. 32 and a half points. He's 10 and 5 and
Jeez.
6 and 4 ball and 12, 6 and 4 in foursomes.
Yeah,
Uh,
that is efficient. That is super good.
I'll give you another fun trivia question. One more, which I think you might get, honestly. Jordan Spieth was the youngest United States player to compete in the Presidents Cup at 20 years old in 2013. He was a captain's pick by Fred Couples and played alongside which player, achieving a 2-1 record together?
Is it Zach Johnson, right?
No, but that's a good guess.
Because I know Spieth and Johnson are very close also.
Boys Club.
Was it like a younger guy at the time also or no?
No, it's an older guy.
So Matt Kuchar maybe?
No, I'll give you one more guess.
So it's like an older guy. Keegan Bradley.
Nope, Steve Stricker. That was like the whole
He
thing.
played?
Yeah, 20. Yeah, and well, this is back in
Damn.
2013. Yeah, no, like the
Oh.
whole thing with like Stricker used to play well with Tiger, when Tiger was like coming up because it was like Stricker was like the old, not the old at kind
Yeah, it's
of
also
player,
true.
being that veteran, they kind of did that too. Which is a pretty common theme to kind of have a veteran. The Rock Cup did that. I remember Rory did that with Thomas
How
Pierce
old
in
is he?
2015, which failed. But
So Stricker's 57, so he was like
he's won.
mid
He's won
40s then.
on the senior tour, and I think his father just passed away, and he won. So, all right,
Yeah,
let's transition. I want to talk about I ranked my top 10 players. I can quickly go through them, but I had this question: if you had to do a schoolyard draft, so
hmm
go back and forth, two captains, like where would Hideki is presumably the best player on the international team? Like where would you draft Hideki in like a schoolyard draft?
obviously, I mean, even with Scheffler's poor record, you have to. So Scheffler, Xander, and then I'd take Colin, and then let me see. Yeah, I mean, he's probably the fourth best player in golf right now, unless I'm missing someone. So I'd say he's kind of close
Yeah,
to Colin also. So, yeah, I'd say those three
yeah. I
first.
mean, I have Hideki at number 4. He's
Yeah.
7, 10, and 5. He's very consistent. I think his putter could let him down at times, and I think Cantlay's been really good. He's been 11, 5,
Yeah.
1.
hmm
He kind of was the best player in Rome, which doesn't really say much, but over the last couple of years, he's been one of the better players in like match play. Maybe that's also because he's very slow, and
Right.
the other people hate playing against him. But I'll give you my top 10 players, the top 10 bunker to bunker rankings. Number 10, Russell Henley. He's like 7th on like data golf. So I think Henley.
Huge Russell Henley
It
podcast
is.
as well.
It honestly,
It's a very big pro Russell Henley podcast for sure.
the sharps like Russell Henley, who are like very data driven. He's been like
Yes.
top 20 in data golf. He's inside the top 10 for like the last like couple,
hmm
or maybe like 2 years. So I think the way that even though he's a rookie, I think like the way that Henley's going to play, kind of like hit his game, which is a little sneak peek to my picks later. Number 9, I have Sung Jae, who's 5, 3, and 2. Adam Scott, 18, 25, and 6.
Not
I have
great.
7, Sam Burns. He's only 1, 5, and 2, but
Is that
I,
because of Scheffler though? Also.
dude, people don't remember that Burns carried Scheffler in that
hmm
President's Cup, and they still didn't get a win. I think his win was at the Ryder Cup for Burns, but I forget the hole. I think it was maybe on the Smiley Pod, the Smiling Burns, and they showed a video of Scheffler like legit shanking one on a par 3. Burns was one of their their better players in 2022. Just that his record was just kind of because of Sky Scheffler. So I have him at 7 just because he's a really good like putter, and the whole match play setting is like when you're like the first one in, you know, you have a massive advantage. So Sam Burns
Right.
7, 6. I have Tom Kim. I kind of already went over why. Patrick Cantlay number 5, as I said.
Yeah. hmm
4, Colin 3, and because of the match play record for Sky Scheffler, he falls to number 2. And I have Xander Schauffele, who's 10 and 7. I think he's so consistent. He
Yeah.
doesn't really give any chances to his opponent. He's so consistent. Like, he was not going to find himself in trouble. That kind of opens the door for anyone else. And I think he's also a better putter than Scotty. So I just think being a better putter, better match play history, I think he obviously is as consistent as Scotty, but I have Xander as my if I do like a schoolyard draft in my power rankings, I'd have Xander Schauffele as the first pick overall. So a couple more topics to go over. Let's talk about some likely pairings. I don't think we have to spend much, or I don't think we need to spend much oxygen on Xander and Cantlay. They're the most successful pairing, or they can be in Presidents Cup history for Team USA. The most successful pairing is Freddie Couples and Davis Love the third. They had a 5-2-1
That makes
record with
sense.
5.5 points. Xander
Mm-hmm.
and Cantlay are 4-3 in Presidents Cups, so that's 4 points together. They have a chance if they get 2 points or 1.5 points, either tie or take that lead and make some Presidents Cup history. They're obviously going to play together in foursomes, which is the alternate shot, and four ball is when everyone plays like their own ball, and it essentially is the best ball. So they're going to play at least twice together, going out twice in foursome. So they're definitely like the guys that Furyk doesn't really have to like worry about. We've seen Scheffler and Burns. We kind of know their whole story now. They're like best friends. However, as we said, their record together in match play 3-1. They went 2-1 in 2022 at the Presidents Cup, and they went 0-1 together 2023 Ryder Cup when they lost the first match uh, in foursomes at the Ryder Cup. So, I guess my question to you is like, I assume that Scheffler and Burns are going to play together, but uh, like, do you look to kind of split those guys up if you're Captain Jim Furyk?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you can also kind of see what happens. Also, like it's obviously like a full day session Thursday, Friday, so it's just like one day. So like you have time to like kind of like reflect on like what worked and what didn't work. And like I understand like the formats are different, but I feel like you can kind of reevaluate. Like if I was Furyk, I'm going in with a very open mind and trying to make as many adjustments as possible like on the fly. But obviously if it's working, you keep it the same as well. So that's my take on it. I don't think he should be like there's like a stagnant plan that like Scheffler plays
Yeah.
like four matches and stuff like that. So I just feel like Furyk should be like as flexible as possible and kind of play it by ear as the weekend progresses, I think.
Yeah, I mean, there's more strategy to foursomes than four ball. Four ball, you're playing
Right.
like your own ball.
Yeah.
I guess it's more of a positive vibes, like who meshes together, who can kind of feed off each other. Foursomes is
Mm-hmm.
more strategy. So I can see a world where like Scheffler and Burns play like the first like foursomes and they don't really play well, and because obviously Scheffler's gonna have to play. He's probably gonna play all five. He might only play four because
He might.
like
Yeah.
they might just rest and
Yeah.
like they're up a lot, just like conserve energy. We saw that at like the Solheim Cup with Nelly Corda, like was like the best player by far, but she only played four matches. I don't think anyone went five, so that's
Yeah.
also kind of interesting too. So I think that will be interesting to see when people are on the grounds walking with these practice groups that like who's with who, because like they usually like do pods. So like they'll have like three practice round groups, and it'll be three foursomes obviously because there's 12 people. So like usually you'll get a sense of like who's in each other's like pods and stuff. Uh, we'll kind of see and get a sense of that. Because also they play a ton of practice rounds together too. And I believe Morikawa and Burns played at the Ryder Cup and they won 4-3, which is very interesting. I don't know if that was foursomes or four ball, but that I think because Scheffler, Burns, Xander, and Cantlay have a natural pairing. More, like who does Morikawa pair? Who does Morikawa pair with? He didn't have that natural pairing last year. They paired him up with Fowler and foursomes, which was horrific. Obviously, I just said he played with Burns. I think he might have played with Cantlay or Xander in another four ball, but we saw that the dominance they had in 2021 with him and DJ when they didn't lose together. We saw in 2022 he played with Cam Young. They really like the pair of Morikawa with a bomber
Mm-hmm.
who's elite with the driver because Morikawa's arguably the best wedge player in golf. So I think he's a storyline of who he plays with. Does he get paired with a Max Homa who has some history with Brian Harman? They were the top pairing in Rome last year. They both went to Cal. Does he play with like Wyndham Clark and Morikawa, I think, are pretty good friends, and Clark is that bomber off the tee. So it might depend on how they play this course, if it's how thick like the rough is. But I think my guess is that he might play with Burns at some point. But if he doesn't, I think Clark is that natural pairing for him.
Yeah, so going back to what you said about Burns and Morikawa, so that was a four-ball matchup. They beat Hovland and Ludwig four
Damn.
and three.
Yeah, I mean, when I was at the Tour Championship, I walked around. It was Scheffler, Burns, Morikawa, JT. I don't know if that was. Obviously, they're all good friends. We saw that JT posted, or no, I think it was Smiley posted, but JT had some charity event in Nashville, and like Scheffler, Burns, Tom
Yeah.
Kim were there. Jason Duffner, Nick Dunlap was there. I'm forgetting someone else. I don't know. I don't think Colin was there. But so like they're also all friends, and they are playing a money match. It was Scheffler and Burns versus Colin and JT, and I think like Colin and JT were down like 3-0 after like the first three holes. It was a clinic by Burns and Scheffler, but uh, kind of how I think these pairings are gonna go after Morikawa and Clark. I think Homa and Harmon, even though they're statistically probably I think statistically they're the worst two golfers on this team. They were too good together in Rome not to pair them up and see what happens. And then that kind of leaves you with the bottom or like the last four and Sahith, Keegan, Henley, and Finau. I personally think you have two rookies with Thigala and Henley. You have Keegan and Finau that are veterans. That I think is going to be Keegan and Henley, and then Thigala and Finau. I think Keegan will bring that energy, and I feel like Henley is a like. I feel like you want Henley on like your side. He's just has like that complete game. He's not that long, which I don't think will matter. Like this course is like pretty short. It's like 7,300
Mm-hmm.
yards, so you don't really need to be
Mm-hmm.
a bomber. So
Yeah.
he's so
Thomas.
consistent, great short game, great putter that I think they're going to pair his personality, which is like very mellow, with Keegan, who has that fiery, which will he's in their storyline too. And I just think like
Yeah.
Gala and
I think
Finau.
so
Finau usually
also.
gets like stuck with the guy like no one else wants to play with. So maybe Finau gets like paired with like Clark or something if he doesn't want to get paired with him. But I think Sahith and Finau.
Yeah. Maybe.
Now I'm thinking about maybe Sahith and Colin Morikawa. They're both California guys, so there's really a lot of ways they could
Yeah.
go with it. Any last comments on team
Um
pairings?
yeah, I mean I kind of agree with you. I feel like I feel like Keegan and Henley are both good putters, so maybe
Yeah,
split that up also. I'd say like I'm also really intrigued by the Gala because he's playing super well right now, and I think he's gonna show like a lot of personality out there
yeah,
also. So that's a guy that I'm excited to watch in like a match play format.
yeah. I mean, I think the internationals are so hard
Yeah.
because of the talent. Like, do you just stack up your best guys? Hideki and Am Scott have played a ton together. They're the veterans on this team, and you also have like a Jason Day too, who's also a veteran. But I don't really know where you really go. I mean,
Hmm.
I'm pretty
I
sure
have
Penn
no idea.
Connors played together, and Connors went 0-4 in the Presidents Cup. So
Yeah, I mean, I can look right now.
I have it up too. I mean, I think
It's so hard to predict. Like, I feel like we say this every year. Also, it's like really hard to predict what the internationals are gonna pair.
you don't have that like natural guys who like grew up together.
Yeah.
They log off. I think I interesting to
Yeah.
see. I do think Tom Kim and Sung Jae. I know Tom Kim played with Siwoo, but I think Tom Kim and Sung Jae are gonna the internationals are gonna have to obviously the difference between the Ryder Cup and Presidents Cup is that they play Thursday, Friday, two different sessions, and they play 5 matches.
Yeah.
And they're going to start with four sums. I think Mike Weir said. I don't know if that's confirmed or not, but that was from the captain's pick. I think they're going to play four sums first. So
Okay.
I think that they're going to put out the top guns together.
I think so
I
also.
think they're going to go Hideki Am Scott. I think they're going to go Sung Jae, Tom Kim. I bet they probably put Connors and Pendrick together. Benny on. Minwoo's not really the best. I don't think Minwoo really. I can see Minwoo and Mac Hughes sitting and do Bazadenhout.
Yeah, so Bezadenhout only played 2 matches in the
Yeah.
last one
I
also.
think they're gonna like stack the top guys, and I think it's really
I think so
intriguing.
also. Yeah.
I think another storyline is like also just like what's the strategy like when they announced the Thursday pairings for matches like Wednesday night after the first ceremony, like teams can go like back and forth. It's not blind.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I said that, so it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, there's more to the internationals because really, pretty much, probably in most matches, the United States will be favored in on
Mm-hmm.
the sports books. So, like, obviously, like, if we throw out, I'm not sure who goes first, but like, let's say we throw out Kenley and Standard Shoffley first. Like, do they put up their top pairing of Scott and Hideki or Sungjae or Tom Kim, or do they put out Minwoo Lee and Mac Hughes and just like forfeit that match? So I think it'll be very interesting too. The last segment is where we make our money, Justin, and that's our picks. Not picks just to win, but some props. So I asked you 3 questions. We don't have the odds yet since we're recording this before odds come out for the props, but the 3 bets props I have are
Yeah.
just the 3 easiest ones. Top point scorer for the United States, top point scorer for the internationals, and top rookie scorer. Let's start with top international scorer. So we can't let's do not like a draft, but we can't pick the same person or the
Okay.
same player. I
Hmm.
don't think maybe we would for maybe one of them, but let's start with top international scorer. Who do you think wins that?
I am going to say. I think I'm gonna go with Siwoo Kim. He
Siwoo
was.
Kim, your top international scorer? Okay.
Yeah. He
Okay.
was the top international guy two
Really?
years ago. He was 3-0-1, and I think he is. I think he's also going to get bounced around a little bit. Also, he did play with Tom Kim, as you said, a little bit last time as well, and then I think he played with Cam Davis as well.
Yeah.
But I don't want to go chalk with this
Yeah.
one. I'm playing the value also. I don't
Yeah. I
know
mean, we don't know
what
the
he's
great.
at, but I feel like Siwoo Kim will get matched with some of the top guys as
I think
well.
Tom
So
Kim. I mean, I think they played well. I don't know who I'm going to take. I'm going to take Corey Connors. I think he's the.
yeah,
I forget how Andy mapped this out. So shout out Andy Lack. So if around half the shots, second shots are from 150 yards to 200 yards, Connors ranks third in this field. So obviously behind Scheffler and Shoffley. I think he's playing really well. I think he's playing really consistent. I think this is the best golf of his
mm-hmm.
career. I think he has a chance to play all 5 matches. Obviously he's Canadian on home soil. It's going to mean a little bit more. So I think Corey Connors is my pick for top international scorer. Okay,
In Canada. Yeah.
top USA scorer. This one
Um.
is a little interesting because essentially, when you're thinking
Yeah.
about top scorers, you're thinking about like who can play 5 matches. It's kind of how you kind of think about it, or at least kind of how I think about it. I actually hit Rory McIlroy. He was the top scorer for maybe the entire tournament, or he was
I
like
think
he was plus 950 or 850. I can look up after, but
maybe
uh, regardless, who is your top USA scorer?
I'm going to go with. This is chalk. I'm gonna go with Shoffley. I think him and Cantley play super well, and then he's gonna win in single. So I think I would go with Shoffley to counter to kind of balance out my dart throw of Siwoo. I'm gonna go with chalk and
Yeah,
go with Shoffley.
I mean, if you're talking about, as I said, probably has the best odds to play all 5 matches over Scheffler.
Yeah,
And I think,
because of his connection with
like, I
Cantley.
think Scheffler will
Yes,
probably be the odds-on favorite.
I feel like Shoffley could though.
Yeah, it'll be honestly. I think there's a huge market this week for prop betting and for like these tournaments.
Yeah.
with kind of how intense we're at it. Yeah, I mean, if I had to like if a casual fan, one of our friends was like, who should I bet for top scorer? I'd be like, bet Tanner Shoffley. That's kind of my pick. Would be my pick? I think I want to go with Colin Morikawa. I think he's kind of shown it these last couple of team matches. I think he is, he's putting it really well. Best
Yeah,
putting I
he
think
is.
of his career. So I think the way that he's hitting it, very consistent. His
Mm-hmm.
record is 6-4-1. It kind of speaks for himself. I think he didn't have the great showing last year. I think he's going to want to like bounce back from that. And he didn't even get a win this year, so I think he's going to want to end this year strong. And I think he's going to be the top
Yeah.
point scorer for
Mm-hmm.
Team USA. Okay, top rookie scorer. It's only 6 guys. I think we're gonna have the same guy. We kind of already talked about him, but Thigala, Henley, Harmon, Clark, Minwoo and Hughes are technically all of the 6 rookies. My top scorer, he's my X factor, is Russell Henley. As I said, he's consistent as consistent comes. One of the best players this year. He played all 4 majors really well. He's top 5 in strokes gained in majors. He is a rookie, but I think his game fits match play perfectly. He's going to make a ton of putts. He's not going to be that guy that is fist pumping, getting like the crowd going. He's very all about his business. So I think Russell Henley is my favorite to win the top rookie score market. Justin, do you have your
Yeah,
pick?
I mean, yeah, I'd probably go Henley also, but besides Henley, I did mention him. I think Thigala's going to play some good golf. It's, as we just talked about, it's kind of a little tricky to forecast who he's going to play
Yeah,
with, but I feel like if he plays like 3 or 4 matches and wins on Sunday, I think he's got a good shot to take the top rookie crown for the week.
yeah.
And I'm just super excited to see Guy Sahith tee it up
Would
in
you do
Montreal.
who gets more points, Henley or Sahith bet?
Well, I mean, would take Henley, but
No, no, no. All right.
can if you want to.
That's all. That's all we had for the pod. I'm really looking forward to this week. This is one of my favorite weeks. Everyone kind of dumps on this tournament, but then when it actually gets to this week, Wednesday, when we get like the team matches, everyone's talking about these storylines and Furyk
Mm-hmm.
and Mike Weir and kind of who gets paired with who. Like everyone does love this tournament, so I kind of wish
Mm-hmm.
more people embraced it. I think the people that kind of talk down about the Presidents Cup, kind of like that, like we should be embracing this tournament.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll be tweeting out. I have a lot of stats and fun facts who I think will be paired together. Hopefully, we get some sort of another hat theory. The hat theory was right last year. I actually talked with Rick Gaiman the other day on the phone. I think hopefully we get another team picture, which the team picture
Mm-hmm.
happened like weeks before like the Ryder Cup. That's when they did their scouting trip. So
Scout trip.
hopefully we get some sort of other team photo or something. But Justin, it was great having you on, and
Thanks.
go Team USA and go our guy Russell Henley. Shout out to our boy Asher Weissman because Russell Henley went to Georgia. Go
University of
Dogs,
Georgia.
and
Go.
go Penn State versus Kent State this week. We're gonna cover the minus
Minus
49er.
49.
All right, brother. See ya.
See ya.